The political betrayal has finally ripped the MAGA movement apart. For years, the promise was absolute. President Donald Trump would be the one to expose the untouchable global elite and release all the files on Jeffrey Epstein. That promise has been broken. Now, facing an unprecedented House vote to force transparency, the president is attacking his most loyal supporters. And the consequences are playing out live. Republican members of Congress are rebelling. Devoted followers are publicly burning their MAGA hats, and the entire political framework of the administration is under threat from within. This isn't a political scandal anymore. This is a MAGA civil war fueled by the single, dangerous emotion of betrayal. Introduction. The Broken Promise. Hello, I'm Rufus Brown, and today we are tracking the most significant political fissure of the Trump presidency. For a scandal to be truly dangerous, it doesn't just need outside opposition, it needs a loss of internal faith. And that is exactly what the Trump-Epstein saga has delivered. The current crisis stems from a simple, damning fact. The public is convinced that the government is hiding the truth about Jeffrey Epstein's network. When key figures like Attorney General Pam Bondi and Vice President J.D. Vance repeated the promise to release the files while campaigning, they were feeding the populist demand for accountability. But when the White House actively worked to block the release of the documents and dismissed the issue as a hoax, the MAGA base felt personally betrayed. This wasn't just a policy disagreement, it was the abandonment of a core covenant. And the consequences are staggering. The reaction from the populist right has been immediate, intense, and deeply personal. We are seeing a genuine fracturing of the coalition that brought President Trump to power. The most visible sign of this disillusionment is the heartbreaking, yet highly symbolic, act of loyalists recording themselves burning their MAGA hats in protest. This act, the literal destruction of the symbol of their political identity, demonstrates the depth of anger over the administration's apparent hypocrisy on the issue of elite accountability. Prominent MAGA influencers and podcasters, many of whom previously had direct lines to the White House, are now openly accusing the president of covering up child sex crimes and acting just like the very deep state he promised to dismantle. This is critical because the Trump-Epstein saga has always been framed by the MAGA world as a battle between the virtuous populist movement and the corrupt establishment. When the administration suddenly refused to honor its promise, it created the perception that the president himself had been co-opted or was protecting his own interests. His own reaction lashing out at the base and calling his most loyal followers weaklings who had been tricked by a hoax did nothing but confirm their suspicions. The president's dismissal of their anger only solidified their sense of betrayal and escalated the internal conflict. The internal political strife has now translated directly into a legislative crisis, manifesting in a bipartisan revolt against the president's command. The House is about to vote on the Epstein Files Transparency Act, not because the Speaker wanted it, but because a group of lawmakers led by key Republican rebels forced it. The use of a discharge petition, which requires 218 signatures to bypass leadership, is a rare and powerful weapon. The fact that four prominent, hardline Republican figures, including Representatives Marjorie Taylor Greene and Thomas Massie, signed the petition is an unprecedented political event. The White House deployed high-level officials, including Attorney General Bondi and FBI Director Kash Patel, to lobby these members aggressively. The message was clear: sign the petition and you are acting against the president. But the anti-establishment ethos of the MAGA movement proved stronger than loyalty to the man. Representative Greene, one of the most high-profile converts, stated publicly that she does not worship or serve Donald Trump, clarifying that her loyalty is to God and the truth. This public breakup, the rejection of the Trump cult of personality in favor of the principle of transparency, is the most significant sign that the MAGA Civil War is now a full-blown political force. The rebellion is proof that the issue of Epstein is a non-negotiable moral line for the populist base. A line that the president's political apparatus failed to recognize until it was too late. Faced with a devastating loss of control over his own party, President Trump has pivoted to his most risky defense: political deflection. After calling the transparency movement a hoax, President then contradicted himself by ordering Attorney General Pam Bondi to launch a new, immediate investigation into the Epstein ties of his political rivals. The targets were explicit: former President Bill Clinton, former Treasury Secretary Larry Summers, and prominent tech investor Reid Hoffman. The move is a clear attempt to use the immense power of the Department of Justice to neutralize the scandal. By focusing the media's attention on an investigation into the president's opponents, He attempts to reframe the story as a bipartisan problem and drown out the conversation about his own refusal to release the files. It's an attempt to turn the crisis into a political offensive. However, this strategy is fraught with danger. Legal analysts have flagged this as a severe ethical breach, a president ordering a criminal probe of political rivals, especially when the DOJ previously stated it had found no credible evidence to warrant such a pursuit. Furthermore, the strategy risks further alienating the very Republicans he needs to protect him. Representative Green, in a stunning twist, even stated that the threats she has received from fellow Trump supporters made her understand the fear and pressure the women, who are victims of Jeffrey Epstein and his cabal, must feel. The irony is crushing. The president's political defense strategy is being weaponized against his own allies and is inadvertently validating the claims of Epstein's victims. The final showdown and the veto threat. The legislative and political consequences are now unavoidable. The House vote on the Epstein Files Transparency Act is merely the first checkpoint. While the bill is expected to pass the House, its journey through the Senate will be highly contentious, potentially requiring a 60-vote supermajority. But the ultimate decision rests with the president himself. If the bill reaches his desk, he has signaled he will issue a veto. This is the moment of truth. A presidential veto would cement the public perception that he is actively concealing information. It would put him squarely and finally on the side of the perceived establishment and against the transparency demands of his own base. The ensuing political damage would likely be more profound than any revelation within the files themselves. A veto would require a 2/3 vote in both chambers to override, a highly improbable scenario. Therefore, the president's veto power effectively serves as the final absolute barrier to the release of the files. The Trump-Epstein saga has escalated from a scandal into a constitutional crisis, pitting the executive power of the president directly against the democratic demand for truth. The political cost of the president's betrayal is mounting daily, and it is a price that will be paid not just in congressional votes, but in the ultimate erosion of faith from his core voters, an erosion that could very well redefine the political landscape heading into the 2028 election cycle. The story is not over. The political fracture is widening, the votes are imminent, and the consequences for the Trump presidency are real. We will keep tracking every move, every vote, and every document release. To ensure you don't miss a single development in this explosive controversy, we have gathered all of our coverage into one place. If you are new to the story, or if you want to follow the full unfolding narrative, make sure you head over and subscribe to our dedicated playlist, The Trump-Epstein Saga. This is where you will find every long-form investigation and every short-form update we produce, organized chronologically. And for a fast, urgent recap of this entire MAGA Civil War and the latest White House moves, click the link right now to watch our 60-second short on the matter. It's the perfect way to share this breaking news with friends and family. The saga continues. We will keep watching.